They told me I was overpaid, outdated, and replaceable, so I smiled, packed my things, and took the company's biggest client with me. My boss thought firing me in front of the entire office would prove he was powerful. Instead, it became the most expensive mistake of his career, because the revenue they thought belonged to the company was loyal to me. I worked at Halstead Media Group for 19 years. 19 years of late nights, emergency calls, impossible deadlines, and fixing problems nobody else even knew existed. When I started there, the company was small enough that everyone shared one coffee machine and fought over the last parking spot in the lot. By the time I turned 51, we were handling advertising campaigns for some of the biggest retail brands in the country. And somewhere along the way, I became the person clients trusted most. Not because I was flashy, not because I gave motivational speeches in meetings, but because when something went wrong, I fixed it quietly before it became a disaster. That kind of reputation takes years to build. And one arrogant executive destroyed it in less than 10 minutes. His name was Ryan Mercer, 34 years old. Expensive suits, perfect haircut, MBA from a school he mentioned every chance he got. He became chief revenue officer after a private investment firm bought the company and decided the business needed young energy. That phrase should have warned all of us. At first, Ryan acted respectful toward me. Actually, respectful is the wrong word. Curious is more accurate. Like I was some old machine he was trying to understand before deciding whether to keep it or replace it. Then the comments started. Your department costs too much. We need modern relationship management. Client loyalty should belong to the company, not individuals. Every sentence sounded polished and professional, but the meaning underneath was obvious. He thought people like me were outdated, too expensive, too relationship-focused, too old school for the modern corporate world he wanted to build. What Ryan never understood was this. In businesses built on trust, relationships are the business. A client doesn't stay for logos and mission statements. They stay because one specific person answers the phone when everything catches fire. And for nearly 2 decades, that person had been me. I handled the company's largest retail account, Brighton & Cole, a national chain worth almost 40% of our annual revenue. I had worked with them so long that I knew the names of their executives' spouses, their children, even which hotels they preferred during conferences. When their previous campaign nearly collapsed during a holiday launch in 2016, I stayed awake for 38 hours fixing it. Not because my boss told me to, because I gave my word that we wouldn't let them fail. After that, Brighton & Cole stopped seeing me as a vendor. I became family. Ryan didn't care about any of that history. To him, relationships were numbers on spreadsheets, replaceable assets. He genuinely believed any employee could be swapped out if the profit margin looked cleaner afterward. Then came the meeting. Monday morning, full executive conference room, department heads everywhere. Ryan stood at the front smiling like a man about to announce record profits. Instead, he pulled up a salary chart onto the screen. My salary was highlighted in red. This, he said, tapping the screen, is exactly the kind of inefficiency holding this company back. The room went silent. I remember hearing the air conditioner humming above us because nobody else dared make a sound. Ryan kept talking. 19 years in one role creates dependency issues. No employee should become more important than the systems themselves. Then he looked directly at me. We appreciate your contributions, Diane, but moving forward, we need scalable talent. Scalable talent. That's how he described replacing me. Not a person, not a leader, not the woman who built half their client relationships. Just an expensive problem on a spreadsheet. And then, in front of everyone, he fired me. No private conversation, no respect, no thank you for nearly 20 years. Just humiliation dressed up as corporate strategy. A security guard appeared near the door before the meeting even ended. That was the moment I realized something important. Ryan thought my value was my job title. He thought the company owned the relationships I spent 2 decades building. He thought taking away my office badge meant taking away my influence. But while he was busy performing power in front of executives, he forgot one thing. The clients trusted me. Not him. Not the company logo. Me. And 3 days later, Ryan learned exactly how expensive that mistake was. 3 days after I got fired, my phone rang while I was sitting at my kitchen table drinking coffee. The caller ID said Brighton & Cole. I almost ignored it. Not because I was angry, but because I genuinely thought they were calling to say goodbye politely before assigning a new account manager. Instead, their CEO asked me one question. What exactly happened over there? I stayed careful with my answer. I didn't insult Ryan. I didn't complain. I simply explained that the company was moving in a different direction and that my role had been eliminated during restructuring. There was a long silence on the line. Then he sighed. "That's a problem." Those 3 words changed everything. Over the next 20 minutes, he explained that Ryan had already scheduled a transition meeting with Brighton and Cole's leadership team. Apparently, it went terribly. Ryan showed up with slides, growth projections, and consulting buzzwords, but he couldn't answer basic operational questions about their campaigns. Worse, he interrupted people constantly. At one point, he actually told their marketing director that client relationships should depend less on emotional loyalty and more on scalable systems. That sentence spread through their executive team like poison. Because the truth was simple. Brighton and Cole didn't trust the company anymore. They trusted the person who had protected their business for almost 20 years, and that person was no longer there. 2 days later, they asked me to lunch, not as friends, as decision makers. I remember sitting there in that restaurant feeling strangely calm while 3 executives explained that they were considering ending their contract with Halstead Media Group entirely, not reducing it, ending it. The account was worth nearly $48 million annually. Ryan had fired me to save money on my salary. Now the company was about to lose almost half its revenue because of it. The funniest part? I never asked Brighton and Cole to leave. I never recruited them. I never even hinted at it. They made the decision on their own because trust doesn't transfer automatically just because a corporation says it should. At the end of the lunch, their CEO leaned forward and asked, "If you started your own firm, would you take us on as a client?" I won't lie to you. For a second, I just stared at him because I had spent 19 years believing my safety came from loyalty to a company. Suddenly, I realized the real value had never been the company at all. It was the relationships, the reputation, the years of solving problems when nobody else could. That belonged to me. 2 months later, I opened my own consulting agency. Nothing fancy. Small office, 4 employees, no expensive lobby or trendy branding, just experienced people who knew how to do the work properly. Brighton and Cole became my first client, then came 2 more companies I had worked with previously, then another and another. Within 8 months, my new agency was generating more revenue than my entire department at Halstead had produced the year before. Meanwhile, things inside Halstead started falling apart. Once Brighton and Cole left, other clients began asking questions. Employees started updating their resumes quietly. Investors became nervous. Revenue projections collapsed faster than anyone expected. And Ryan? The same executives who praised his modern leadership vision suddenly needed someone to blame. He lasted 6 months. That's it. 6 months after firing me publicly, he was escorted out of the same building carrying a cardboard box full of his belongings. One of my former coworkers called me afterward and told me something I still think about sometimes. She said the office didn't feel angry after Ryan left. It felt embarrassed. Embarrassed that they had allowed someone with no understanding of loyalty, trust, or experience to destroy relationships that took decades to build. And honestly, that's the real lesson in all of this. Some executives think employees are interchangeable. They believe relationships belong to logos and systems instead of people. But they forget something important. Customers stay where they feel safe. They stay where promises are kept. They stay with the person who answers the phone at midnight when everything goes wrong. No spreadsheet can measure that value properly, and no corporate speech can replace it once it's gone. The strange thing is, I don't even hate Ryan anymore. For a while, I thought I would. But looking back now, getting fired was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because for 19 years, I built something valuable while letting somebody else own it. Ryan's mistake forced me to finally take ownership of my own work. These days, my daughter jokes that I smile more than I used to. She's probably right. I don't miss the politics, I don't miss the fake leadership meetings, and I definitely don't miss proving my worth to people who only understood numbers. Now, I choose my clients carefully. I eat dinner with my family almost every night, and hanging on the wall behind my desk is the framed resignation letter I never got to hand in. Not because I'm bitter, but because it reminds me of the moment I finally understood something. They thought they were firing an employee. What they really did was create a competitor.